Welcome to Direct Approach, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by Wayne Moorhead, filled with timely insights, fresh perspectives, and actionable takeaways from your direct selling executive peers to help fuel the growth and evolution of your business. On this episode, Wayne is joined by Ryan Scott, Chief Strategy Officer of Neumi. Ryan brings a wealth of experience in direct selling and digital transformation to the table. With an advertising and communication background from BYU, Ryan's journey from consulting for Chuck Norris's water bottle company to co-founding Neumi reflects his deep understanding of the modern direct selling landscape. His strategic vision has been pivotal in propelling Neumi's rapid growth. Ryan's commitment to simplifying business for consultants and distributors has been integral to Neumi's continued success. His unique perspective and innovative approach to product positioning and market entry contribute significantly to the conversation around direct selling digital transformation strategies and successful e-commerce platforms. Ryan and Wayne will also be joined later in the podcast by Mike Tingey and Brandon John, the CEO and president, respectively, of Fluid. You'll learn more about their intuitive platform that unifies all distributor activities. So if you are looking for the inside track on how to emphasize technology, empower distributors, and embrace data, you'll find it all here on this new episode of the Direct Approach podcast. But before we begin, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, WorldPay. WorldPay is an industry-leading payments technology and solutions company with unique capabilities to power omni-commerce across the globe. WorldPay processing solutions allow businesses of all sizes to take, make, and manage payments in person and online from anywhere in the world. Annually, they process over 40 billion transactions across 146 countries and 135 currencies. WorldPay helps customers become more efficient, more secure, and more successful. To learn more, visit worldpay.com. Now, let's welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and his guest, Ryan Scott.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead. And today we're going to kind of do things a little bit differently. We're first going to speak to an incredible direct selling executive who's leading strategy for a company that's been rapidly growing month over month ever since its launch in 2022. And then we're going to shift to bring in two founders of an innovative digital platform that is transforming how direct selling companies handle e-commerce, digital marketing, enrollments, communications, and more. So I'm excited to jump right in and excited to welcome Ryan Scott, Chief Strategy Officer at Neumi. Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Hey Wayne, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
I am as well. I've really been looking forward to our conversation. As I kind of mentioned, you being part of a company that launched in the, relatively recently, in the last few years, offered you and the team kind of a blank slate to design the company, really purpose build it for today's direct selling landscape. So I'm really excited to get your perspective, your thoughts on what's working, what's not working, maybe some great takeaways for other companies to learn from. But I'd love to start off just hearing a little bit more about the path that led you into direct selling.
I graduated college in 2017 with a bachelor's in advertising and communication from BYU. And then I went and worked.
I did the same program. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, really?
I did the same program. Yeah.
At BYU?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But many years before that. I won't tell you how many, but many years before that.
That's funny. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Yeah. So I graduated in 2017, and then I went and worked for an ad agency for like 6 months. Didn't love it that much. So I went and did some consulting work for Chuck Norris. He has a water bottle company called C-Force. And I did some marketing work for them, some strategic work on their communications, and was out there in Texas for a few months. And then I came back and I started selling solar panels. I met my wife and knew I had to start getting serious. So I started selling solar panels. And then all of that during that time was my dad, Steve Scott, had an idea about nano-sized glutathione and what it could do for the body. And he is a visionary and a product guy and, one of the best communicators and marketers in the world. And he asked for my help, and I said, I'm okay, I'll just help you out on the side. I need to make some money though, so I can support my family that I'm, gonna start in a few months. And so I was selling solar panels, and But on the side, we were filling up water bottles. We'd buy water bottles at the grocery store and fill them up with product and send them out to friends and family and start collecting anecdotal data. And we just saw some incredible results. And pretty soon he asked me to come over full time. So my paycheck got cut in half, and I started working with my dad. So
That's really cool, as happens with many startups.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a really cool kind of origin story. And I have to say, I think you're probably the only person in direct selling whose career path involves Chuck Norris. So I am very impressed. I think that's really cool. I hope he's as nice and as tough as everybody says he is.
He's the best. He's the greatest. My dad and him have been partners for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's really cool. One of the things that I've loved most about the Neumi story is that it's really another great example of a product technology that had been in another channel, was kind of living in the retail world or the direct to consumer world, but you chose very purposefully and strategically to bring it into the direct selling channel. Can you talk a little bit about this decision and how it informed your go forward strategy?
yeah. So I have a couple of bottles in front of me that I'm gonna show for anyone who's watching. And I know it probably won't, not everyone will be able to see this, but it's kind of cool. So I have this bottle right here. We started buying smart waters and dumping them out, and then pouring our product in this and sending them out. And then we went to a little bit more scientific looking bottle. And then when we decided, okay, it's time to launch, Steve has a lot of expertise in TV and in ads, and that form of communication and selling direct to customer. And so that's what we launched with. We just launched with a little Shopify store. We had a couple of retail outlets that we would sell into, and then we made some TV appearances as well. So we launched with that, and this was our first product we launched with. It was called Swish 30, and this is a nice big bottle. And then we actually launched a separate brand for our skincare, and it was called Prima Skin. And it was a ton of fun. It was honestly just Steve and I at the time. He was in charge of, the connections and relationships, and I had to, source bottles, fulfillment, website, branding. It was very cheap labor, so we made do. And so we launched in the retail space, had a few successful years, but more than anything, we saw this product where people were purchasing it, and after 1 year of purchases on TV, we had a 76% retention rate. 76% of our customers that bought a year ago were still buying product, and they weren't incentivized by commissions. They weren't incentivized by the culture that you see in network marketing and in direct selling. They just love the product. And but our product does so many things that can't be promoted, on TV or on Facebook because of regulations. And we said, but this is such a great word of mouth product because people will share their story with each other. And we actually did not want to go into network marketing. Steve had a previous network marketing company and left a bad taste in his mouth with, for a few reasons. And but we had a bunch of friends and acquaintances come to us and just start begging and begging, can you guys please start a network marketing company? This is the greatest product. It's experiential, it's priced fairly. Just do it, please. And so they convinced me before they convinced my dad. They recruited me, and then I went and convinced my dad. I said, hey, let's give it a shot, and let's just launch a separate brand. We can keep the retail brand going. And so we started, and in July 2021 is when we kicked off Neumi, which was our network marketing direct sales company.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I love when people, for very strategic reasons, not just because, it's what they did before, but strategically understand the benefits and the power of the channel, the personal nature, the community, and choose to go into the channel with incredible products. I think it helps benefit all of us. So you mentioned you did launch in 2021, which, as we all know, is a very interesting time, not just for direct selling, but for all of us globally. So I'm curious how this timing kind of, really maybe on the tail end of kind of COVID, how that impacted any decision making or the strategy for the company. Did you experience headwinds or tailwinds? And kind of did you avoid that COVID bubble? If you can just kind of share a little bit more about that timing.
Yeah, no, looking back, I think we were honestly really blessed to come in when we did. A lot of companies that were somewhat established before COVID happened, they experienced this huge surge in momentum and in ordering, and that was great for them. But then after COVID, they experienced a huge downturn as well, where they had, you've had quite a few layoffs in these companies. Excuse me, a few layoffs in these companies, and you've seen the fallout of that COVID bubble, right? That rebound. And so, you know, unfortunately, we didn't ride that wave, but I also think it was actually a good thing because it didn't give us any artificial hope or artificial growth. We came in after the COVID bubble. We launched, we were slow for a few, 6 months, not slow, but I mean, we were happy with it. And my dad always talked about the explosive growth of network marketing, and I always just rolled my eyes and said, "Oh yeah, we'll see." And then all of a sudden in February 2022, our sales doubled, and then they doubled in March, and then they doubled in April, and then they doubled in May. And I just sat there thinking, "Holy crap, what is happening?" And my dad said, "I told you this is what happens when you provide a good product and you have a good culture and you have the right technology, things can explode like this." So that's what we experienced, and it's been ever since then that we've been growing month over month, and it's just been a wild ride. But looking back, I think we're blessed to have come in at the time that we did.
Yeah, that's really interesting. First, just kind of demonstrating really the benefits of momentum and the power of the channel from a scale standpoint. But also, I know it's important as you're starting out with a company and you're forecasting and making supply chain issues and promotional issues and inventory issues, like to understand at least initially kind of a baseline. And so you're right. If you had this like artificial spike and made all these decisions, based on that, it can, you can overspend the cash. You can end up actually going out of business. And so I agree. I think that was really lucky that you ended up having kind of that, granted, steep slope on the curve, but a little bit more of a traditional growth curve there. And I know that it was important to you and Steve and the team to really kind of do things differently. As I kind of mentioned before, kind of purpose designing for today's direct selling landscape. And you were very thoughtful in the team about designing the elements, the aspects of the company, really to, as you have said, and I've heard you word it, to remove the barriers for the consultants and the distributors doing the business, and really try to keep things as simple as possible. And I know that this has been kind of one of the main, or at least one of the contributors to the company's continued growth and success. Can you talk a little bit about kind of that idea of removing the barriers? And even I've heard you mention kind of removing the excuses not to succeed. Can you talk about that? And then I'd love to get into, some of these elements individually.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up here in Utah, and there's a lot of direct selling companies here. And because of that, you hear your friends and talk about why their parents have a garage full of products still 20 years later and they can't move it. And there's a lot of negative sentiment in this industry from the young people. And when we decided to do this, I thought, okay, so right now it's just my dad and I. And I mean, we had a few other employees, but I said, we can really do this in a cool way. We can be a company that I can, look any distributor in the eye and say that we did our part, right? So there are a few things that people can complain about, or, whether it's products are too expensive, or the compensation plan is too confusing, or they charge me annual fees and fees for this and fees for that. And I just wanted to provide as much value as humanly possible, so that if a distributor came and joined Neumi and never made a single penny, I still feel clean conscious, right? They bought product and had a positive experience. That's what I wanted, worst case scenario, to happen. So looking at it, I said, what technology do we need to have? How do we need to price our products? What does our compensation plan need to look like? We tried to avoid any gotchas, That's a huge complaint in the industry. Oh, sorry, you didn't qualify because you forgot to, pull your ear and spin around 3 times or whatever it may be. We just need a transparent, simple compensation plan that anyone can look at in 30 seconds, say, I can do that. And part of that is, we have a point to dollar ratio, right? We don't do 80% of volume is $1 or anything like that, because I want people to be able to look at our comp plan and say, if they say I'm making 25% here or 30% here, that's $30 on $100 order, right? And so just removing all those barriers and excuses, and reasons why people get out of the industry. Just wanted to remove all that and just be simple and clean and offer as much value as possible.
I love that you approached it from that perspective. And I think it speaks a lot to how you, Steve, and team, operate the company, but just understanding that you wanted to provide value in every way possible, whether it was through the comp plan, through an incredible product, even if they never participated. I think that's really incredible. I think a lot of times I shouldn't say a lot of times, I'll say sometimes, the value of the product gets overlooked or kind of not emphasized the way that it should. And you touched on some really interesting aspects that you guys designed in a really cool way. Can you share a little bit more? I know you have kind of the one-to-one on the comp plan, but can you share a little bit more? I know it's also, a very high paying comp plan as it relates to a percentage of payout. And also, it's been really successful and rewarding for distributors kind of across cohorts, across, all levels of the company. It doesn't really, favor the top end or one end, but it's kind of spread really evenly. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So when we were looking at this comp plan, we decided to go with a Uni-level. It's the most friendly to the FTC. It's transparent. It doesn't sell people on, oh, you'll get rich quick because someone above you is just going to throw a bunch of people on your leg. It rewards the worker. We have a couple other elements, but for that reason, we went with a Uni-level comp plan. And because we manufacture our own product in-house, we have a lot of savings and a lot of room in that product to give a good compensation plan. So our compensation plan pays out roughly around 52% every month. Our cap is at 62%. But 52% is our average month over month. And one of the back office companies that we work with, they have some analytics, and they were going through it with us at the end of the year. And they said, we have 5 groups of people that we categorize our distributors into, from novice to expert. And they said, with most companies, we see, the top 2, maybe 3 people make money. And they said, you guys are the first company we've ever seen where 4 out of the 5 people are more than breaking even. They're actually making money. And they said, that's a testament to your guys' compensation plan. Your little guys are actually making enough money that they're being able to pay for their product. And that's the bulk of your field. And any business builder will know, you live and die by the little guy, right? And so Steve, it was really important to Steve to make sure our leaders are taken care of, right? But at the same time, if we want to, we want to be a legacy company. We don't want to be a flash in the pan. We want to be around for a long time. We want our distributors to be able to hand their business off to their children, leave it in their will and be around for them, right? And in order to do that, you have to have everything be stable. You have to have the little guys receiving money as well as the big guys. And we came out with something called the Bill of Rights for our distributors. And a Bill of Rights are the things that we promise as a company to never do to our distributors, the rights that they have. And one of them is, protecting their legacy, and we're doing everything we can to stick around long term, right? I think we've had a couple people leave us for new companies, and I think most of the companies that they've left us for have, gone up and come down, and they've come back, and we've been stable. Steve's previous company, he wasn't in management at all, but growing up, I saw what was going on, and they never produced a profit. So it was really important to me that we are profitable, that we have a good cash reserve, that we can, be prepared for any, COVID or whatever might happen. So we have a good reserve in the bank account, and there hasn't been a month that we haven't turned profit, even though we're paying out 52%. That should tell you how skinny we run things. We have a pretty small building. We have about 18 to 22 employees, and we run things skinny because we want to be around long term. We're not going to just go out and spend and spend and spend. And for that reason, we can pay out the little guy as well as the big guy.
Yeah, I think that's such a great approach. And again, the more people that are provided value from a direct selling company that earn a check, the more positive influence, positive perception and reputation, the entire channel has, not just the company. So I think that's a great approach. I think another really cool thing is around kind of fees and tools. Lots of times as distributors get started, we can hit them with an enrollment fee, and then, oh, you need, this other tool every month, and then this thing, and then this thing, and those things can start adding up, and potentially be burdensome to some of the people that are getting going and building their businesses. But you take a free approach. Can you share a little bit more about? That's definitely more cost to you as a company. Granted, I know you're running things lean, but it's also more benefit. So can you share that?
Yeah, we wanted to take the Amazon approach, right? I remember when I was getting started, I asked how many people in this room, have an Amazon Prime, and people would raise their hand, and I'd say, how many of you have canceled the Amazon Prime? And no one raises their hand, and it said, Amazon Prime provides so much value to you that once you're in, you're in, right? And that's what we wanted. We know our products work. We're a product focused company, and we just want to get people in. We want people trying the product. We offer a 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee on our products. We don't charge any fees for signing up as a distributor. We don't charge any annual fees. And then the tools that we have, we're going to discuss in a minute, but the tools that we have, we don't charge either. We want our people using our tools. And if you charge 10, 15, 20 bucks, yeah, that's some gravy that comes into your company, but you're going to get a far less usage. And we'd rather have people coming in with lower barrier to entry and staying here, buying our product and paying out more commissions. And that's the approach that we took, and it served us well. I think we've had multiple companies tell us, hey, you guys are the ones growing right now. A lot of companies are hurting, and so our approach has served us well so far.
Yes, it absolutely has. And this kind of removing all the barriers and the friction also extends to your pricing strategy and pricing model. Where many direct selling companies go super premium with the pricing, you've kept it very kind of accessible. And tell me why you've priced it the way you have.
Yeah, Steve, his whole life has been direct selling, and he has some, crazy insights on the power of pricing. And you can move something by 25 cents and your sales can skyrocket or dip. Even if you lower the price, sometimes if you lower the price, it can devalue your product, right? But Steve always talks about other glutathione products out there that don't have this hydrostat nanotechnology. They're like skateboards. They're good and they'll get you from A to B, but we have a fighter jet where we can get directly into your cell, and you can start utilizing our glutathione on demand. And because we manufacture in-house, we had 5 years, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 4 years of product development and fine tuning things and figuring out our costs and how to better source our bottles and how to manufacture our product more efficiently and how to save on shipping costs. And so those 4 years of product development and research helped us get our product to a point to where we can offer it lower than our competition. So even though, we're selling a jet fighter for the price of a skateboard, and we just want to create the best value, best offer available. And so you'll go on Amazon and look at glutathione products, and you won't find them cheaper than you can get our product for a month's supply. And we just wanted to offer the best in all aspects. So
Yeah, I love that you have these kind of company and brand pillars that really extend into all aspects of your company, including the pricing around that ultimate value that you're trying to provide customers and consultants. Looking at kind of scaling a company, especially early days, it's super impressive that you've been able to keep the organization really small. In order to do that, it is about having the right people in the right roles. So how did you look at kind of developing, you and Steve, from kind of the organizational plan and structure? Can you talk a little bit about the team and kind of how you've organized and like where the center of gravity is?
yeah, it's funny. I wish we could take credit for it, but I think God placed certain people in our lives that at the literal perfect time, and we can't take credit for the team that we have as far as our executives go. We were getting ready to launch in July. We still didn't have, a CEO. I was getting ready to take on something that I had no experience in at all, and just praying that everything went okay. And my dad goes to lunch with someone, and my dad says, "Yeah, we're launching an MLM in 2 months, a network marketing company." And the guy says, "Oh, I have a buddy who's vice president of another network marketing company. Let me reach out to him, see how he's doing." That day he gets a call from my dad's and his mutual friend, and says, "Hey, my friend Steve Scott, he's starting a network marketing company, wondering if you have any interest." And Aaron said, "Absolutely. When can he meet? I'll drive down right now." And I sat down with Aaron, and I was just as blown away, and immediately knew he was the right guy, and could see that he didn't have any ego, he didn't have any greed. He was just a happy guy, ready to work, and he was one of those guys that was not going to be up on the tower, but in the trenches with you. We were looking at another potential CEO, but he was a guy saying, "Oh, you do this, you do that." I knew Aaron was going to be in the trenches with me from day one, and he was, and so he's been a huge blessing as CEO. And then Chris Fowler, he's our COO, and same thing. He was in the space, and I'll tell you a quick 2-minute story. I get invited to a network marketing executive event. I walk into the hotel, and I only see 2 people at the table when I walk in. So I go and I sit down, and it's me, one other person, and Chris Fowler. And I hear Chris talking to the other guys, and I just am blown away at the knowledge he has. He's a young guy. He's 40 years old, and he's been in the industry and corporate for 20 years, since he got home from his LDS mission. And I was asking him questions. I was like, drinking out a fire hydrant. "Hey, who do you use for shipping into Canada? Who do you use for this? Who do you use for that?" And he just telling me all these answers. And he and I would have lunches for the next year and a half, and I'd ask him questions. And one time I said, "Why are you helping me? We're kind of competitors." He said, "Well, I just believe in, whatever helps the industry." He said, "This industry has a bad rap, and whatever helps this industry is going to helps this industry. And I want all boats to rise." And I said, one of the most standout guys I've ever met. Then came a time where we knew we could grab him, and it was between us and a multi-billion-dollar company that wanted him, and he decided to go with us. So we were super, super fortunate, and that's the reason we're in 72 countries and running pretty smoothly. So he's incredible.
I completely agree with that. And I also love Chris's philosophy and share that, what's good for one company really helps the entire industry. I love that collaborative philosophy and approach that lives at the heart of direct selling. It is also amazing how many times these synchronicities happen where, when you're starting, when you're putting the work in, sometimes just the right people come in at the right time. And I know that's true for Neumi. You built such an incredible team there, a very talented team. You mentioned shipping into 72 countries. Again, more countries equals more complexity, which can also slow down a rapidly growing company. Can you talk about how you've approached international, what's worked, and maybe a couple lessons learned?
Yeah. When we first started, there was any distributor will come up to you. Can we do this country? Can we do that country? Can we do this country? And we tried to, never turn down an opportunity. If we could make it work, we tried to make it work. Chris Fowler is a machine and has contacts all over the globe and consultants all over the globe that helped us get into these countries cheap and effectively and quickly. But I'd say the biggest lesson we've learned is to test the validity of a market. What we've started doing is turning on pre-enrollment SKUs. So for example, let's say we're going into Japan, and we don't have markets, or we don't have products in Japan, or we're not selling into Japan. What we do is we turn on the flag and we have a SKU and we say, hey, we're pre-enrolling in Japan, and we let our whole field know, and we see how much traction it gets. And you can have 10 pre-enrollments, and then you say, maybe that's not where our priority goes. Or like Indonesia, we had 15,000 pre-enrollments. And so we knew that we needed to take Indonesia extremely seriously. And so we didn't just NFR into Indonesia with that amount of pre-enrollments. We said, okay, this is a huge country that's going to explode the second we go in. We need to do it right. So we had to, get registered, open up an office and everything. But we knew beforehand that we would be able to afford it because of the pre-enrollment method that we've been using. So that's been a super, super big lesson that we've learned.
That's incredible. I love the approach to validate really before expanding. I think that's really smart. You've mentioned kind of being customer focused. I've also heard you talk about customers being the lifeblood of Neumi and every business. Can you talk about how that customer focus has really informed the strategy? How do you help put them at the forefront?
I think same way we remove as many barriers as possible for the distributors, we remove as many barriers as possible for the customers. So when you go to our website, when I was younger, I would look at some network marketing companies and I'd say, okay, if I were a customer, how would I order? And 9 out of 10 websites, I couldn't figure it out because it was geared towards the distributors, right? It was geared towards enrolling and putting in your social and buying your welcome kit and I would look at these, you can go to a website and you say, oh, that's a direct selling company. I can already tell, right? Part of my vision was to avoid that and have a very customer-centric and focused e-commerce friendly website, where if I'm just Jane Doe visiting Neumi.com, I could check out, and if there is a place to enter my sponsor, I can. But it's not forcing everyone into the distributor bucket, right? And we are onboarding technology. We just onboarded technology that we're going to talk about in a few minutes that makes acquiring customers that much more simple. And we'll always be doing that. We'll always be striving to bring down the barriers so that more and more customers can come in, because they're what creates stability, right? You have distributors that may leave for the next shiny thing that they see. But if customers love their product, they're not motivated by commissions, they're not motivated by uplines, asking them to stay. They just like the product. So the more customers you can acquire, the healthier your company will be.
Absolutely. They provide such a solid foundation to grow from. So I want to keep going down the kind of the technology rabbit hole here. And this is a little bit of my soapbox. People on the podcast have kind of heard me kind of expound on this a little bit. It can be challenging, we know, to do business with many direct selling companies. And it's really a result of a lot of our kind of legacy sites and systems. A lot of them are homegrown. There tends to be a lot of friction in the process, too many steps, too many clicks, too many fields to fill out to really purchase a product or to enroll. Another thing is they're not super modular. So a lot of the great e-commerce tools, digital marketing tools can't be plugged into these legacy systems. And so as a result of all this, honestly, we're kind of behind as a channel. And there's so much out there that we can be taking advantage of for acquisition of customers and distributors, enrollment and e-commerce. And that's been kind of a huge need that I've seen in the industry over the last really 5 years. talk a little bit about, I know you shared a little about kind of removing the boundaries, but talk a little bit about the thoughts of the importance of kind of having the right technology, the right platforms, and what we as a channel kind of need to be doing better.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We were so hungry for a good platform for customers and acquiring and removing those barriers, that we actually probably were a little bit riskier than we should have been, but we experimented and went over to Shopify, and it was glorious for the first little bit with acquiring customers. I mean, our customer acquisition went through the roof, and people loved the website. People loved ordering on it, and it was just beautiful, and everybody loved it, except it didn't communicate well with our back office. So we had a bunch of attribution issues, people signing up and it wasn't going to the right person, and auto ships not communicating and volume not communicating. And so as incredible as it was, we had to shut it down, and everyone was sad. But it's because there is that disconnect. There's so far, the industry's a little behind, and if we could ever have something like that Shopify where it's modular, it's drag and drop, it's edit on the go. I could just log into Shopify and I could change things on the website in 4 seconds and push it and it's live, and drag and drop and all those things. That's what made Shopify so powerful for us as a company and so user friendly to the customers. And there hasn't been anything like that that's worked in the direct selling space until now, and that's why we made the decision to go with this company that we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'd love to jump into it now. It was really interesting. I am seeing kind of a light on the horizon. It seems like companies and CEOs and leaders are finally really putting this as a priority and investing and putting this at the top of their list from a marketing, from an IT perspective. And at the DSU in April, I had the opportunity to sit through a meeting with some CEOs and leaders, and they were all looking for what's the right e-commerce platform? How can we remove this friction? How can we start acquiring and really partnering with our consultants and distributors all along the funnel and all along the customer and distributor journey? And that was one of the big kind of impediments is, what do you do? Do you go to Shopify? You're right. It doesn't play well with a lot of the commission engines and back offices. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, the industry needs, the channel needs something. And once that solution's there, I know a lot of people are going to adopt it the same way that Amazon has become rapidly adopted by a lot of companies. It was something that they stayed away from, and now it's something they fully embrace for various reasons, but especially to protect the price point and protect the brand. But that need for a direct selling focused e-commerce marketing, you name it, but those solutions are needed. And it was cool to hear that you found that. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more of kind of the driver. How did you find this company, and talk a little bit about the implementation, the results, but would love to hear more.
We had hired a new CMO a few months ago in April, and we asked him, we weren't necessarily looking, we were okay with the company that we had, but we knew it wasn't getting us across the goal line. It was just kind of there. And we said, do you know of any good app companies? I know there are essentially only two, which is Verb, which they go by something else now. I can't remember what it's called. And Nowtech. And we didn't know if there's anything else out there. And Elias, our CMO, said, I've actually been working, before this, I was working with a company called Fluid, and they are unlike anything you've ever seen. He said, I can't even explain to you what this app company does. And he was right, because I couldn't fathom, to me, an app is an app, right? It's sharing content, and that's about it. And it's essentially a nice Google Drive, right? Where you can store some content, and that's what we had. He said, you know what, just do a demo, set up a demo. So I set up a demo, and I watched him walk through everything, and my jaw just kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And I said, holy crap, when can we implement this? And so we set a goal to implement it by our summit in July, our anniversary event. And so that gave us a few months to work on it. I called Stuart Johnson, and he was actually no, I didn't call him. I let the company Nowtech know. I said, hey, just so you know, we're leaving you. Please terminate our contract right now. This was the day after I met with Fluid. I said, and they said, okay. And then I got a call from Stuart. Hey, Ryan, why are you guys leaving us? And I was brutally honest, which sometimes can hurt me, sometimes can help me. But I said honestly, I sat through this company's demo, and I want to tell you something. We will be paying this new company 5 times the amount that we're paying you, and paying Nowtech. And he said, "Are you kidding me? He said, "What? Why would you pay 5 times?" I said, "Because it's 100 times better than you can even imagine. It gets rid of all of our problems. It turns our distributors into machines. It creates systems. It's one hub for everything, for communicating, for purchasing product, for sharing product, for enrolling people, for accessing your back office. The list goes on and on. Trainings, events, ticket sales, all of that in one hub where we can, and our biggest complaint from our distributors are communication, right? Well, we don't know what's going on. It's hard to communicate because you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have email, you have whatever. And if we can just point everyone in this one hub, it'll solve everything. And so anyways, Stuart was intrigued, and he said, introduce me to Mike. I'd like to meet this guy, and I'd like to see a demo of this product. And here we are today. And we launched the app of 2 weeks ago, and it's been better than I could have imagined. So
Yeah, I heard a little bit about the results. You launched it at a conference, and kind of saw some immediate results. Can you share a little bit about that?
yeah, so we launched it, and I think that weekend we got $50,000 in enrollments through the app. So it was pretty cool to see. I get to see app usage. Within one weekend, our app usage was higher than or about where it had been for the past 3 or 4 years, and now we're soaring past that. And I just did a training last night on the app, and distributors that hadn't downloaded it yet, the chat was going crazy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Can you do another training next week? And it's just, they're hungry for something like this. And our field, our demographic, because of the flagship product we launched, are 50 years and older. So we have a hurdle that a lot of companies don't have, and that's the technology hurdle and gap. And but luckily, the company that we're working with, Fluid, their product is so user friendly. There's so much to it, but it's like the iPhone. It's like going from a flip phone to an iPhone, right? Takes a little bit of training, but once you know how to use it, your capabilities are endless and far better than your flip phone. And before you know it, you're a machine at using your iPhone. And that's how it is with this app, right? It's got so much to it that's the only reason it takes a minute to train, because there's so many aspects, but it's so user friendly. It's drag and drop and clean and everything you could wish for in an app.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I had the opportunity to do a demo as well and kind of look under the hood, and was so impressed. And I was really approaching it more from kind of the CMO lens, and it was just something that I wish I had former in-house roles. But I'm glad it's finally available, to companies across the channel, and I'm glad it's been an incredible experience for you. I'm glad that Neumi has continued to grow. I love hearing stories like this. We need great stories like Neumi. And I'm excited now to dig a little bit deeper on this platform. Just wanted everybody out there to understand what it is, what it does, how it's different from other platforms and tools that I've seen. So with that, thank you so much for your time today, for giving us insights about the incredible Neumi story. We all need to hear stories like this and see great examples of growth in the channel. So please tell everybody, please tell Steve and everyone back there that we say hello. And with that, I want to dig in a little bit deeper on Fluid and learn what it does. how it's different from other platforms out there, and just have all of us learn a little bit more.
If you missed any part of the Spring DSU event or just want to revisit some of the speakers and topics, replays are accessible in the DSU On-Demand Library. The library is an exclusive resource for DSN supporter companies, one of many benefits designed to help keep you and your teams engaged, informed, and one step ahead. If you work at a supporter company, simply log in using your unique company code to access this event's content, plus over 250 presentations from previous educational events. If you are interested in becoming a DSN supporter, you can contact us at support@directsellingnews.com. We also invite you to join us at the Fall DSU event happening September 23rd through 25th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. Registration is free. Visit dsnevents.com today.
So thank you again to Ryan for sharing Neumi's incredible story and for giving us more insight onto what they're doing from a technology front and some of the incredible tools and platforms they just implemented and found. And with that, I want to bring in Mike Tingey and Brandon John, founders of Fluid. And guys, welcome to the Direct Approach podcast.
Thanks a lot. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so first I want to congratulate you on the recent acquisition of NowTech from Stuart Johnson, and for now having Stuart as a partner, which I know is going to be huge, not just for Fluid, but with him there as a partner as well. I know it's really going to find its way throughout the entire channel. So can you tell us a little bit about, I love kind of the founding story of how this initially came to be. Can you talk a little bit about the founding story of Fluid?
Yeah, the founding story happens a little bit before Fluid. I was contracted in 2017 by a small direct sales company called Zenoa. They were in their second year of business, and similar to a lot of network marketing startups, they had already switched back offices twice and had a couple of poor experiences. And being in a software engineer and doing a lot of software consulting, they called me and asked if I would come in and help them build the back office because they wanted to really figure out and control that part of it. Me being naive and not understanding much, I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Let's go ahead and build one. And they said our contract is ending in 90 days. So do you think you can have this done in 90 days? And so I said, sure, that shouldn't be a problem. Let's get going on it. And I didn't realize at the time what went into a back office. So all your e-commerce, your reporting, genealogy, replicated sites, as we all know. And so I got a crash course, but I wasn't that worried about it because when building traditional software, you usually have a lot of SaaS tools that you can plug into in order to make the experience go smoother and leverage a lot of other technology that makes the build easier. Some examples are like live chat. Live chat should be easy to install on a site and have it to work. And so I was just planning on leveraging a lot of other tools. What I quickly realized was that was not possible in the network marketing model, because you have a one-to-many entrepreneur relationship in the technology stack. And so if you do something like install a chat script on a website or build a pop-up for a promo, you want to give credit and you want to have fair sharing to the person who, essentially originated the lead. And so a lot of the existing tech solutions weren't applicable. You couldn't leverage them for the build. So I realized quickly I was going to have to start everything from scratch. I took an IV drip of Mountain Dew, stayed up, pretty much all night, every night, and in 90 days launched a back office. And we had a lot of fun with it, a lot of success with it. The distributors really liked it. Eventually that company was acquired by RX and the New Age team over there. And what I realized at the time was I didn't like the back office play. I felt like there were other options that were out there And what I felt that a lot of the back office play was doing wrong was overextending into other areas that they maybe shouldn't focus on as a core competency. Back office is really good at processing commissions and storing orders and storing users and genealogy. But what you will find is that a lot of the sales and marketing layer of a back office, it becomes an afterthought, not something maybe that they're focusing on. And that's not a knock on any back offices. That's their core competencies in processing commissions and in storing orders and storing genealogy. And I felt that this sales and marketing front office layer, as we call it, was missing. And so that was after the back office was acquired and moved on, I became obsessed with this. How do we create a sales and marketing platform that gives tools and technology that a lot of the top e-commerce players are using, and give it to this one-to-many entrepreneur relationship in direct sales? And so I began working on it. I wrote all the initial code, and then kind of went on from there. But because it was such a large problem to solve, there was no one else to tie into. I built a lot in stealth mode for a couple of years until I met Brandon through a mutual friend, and we went to lunch and started talking about it and realized we had a lot of the same vision. So
when you like have what you think is a simple technology request, build a banner. Let's call that as an example. I just want a banner to talk about a promotion that I'm having. And all of a sudden you're like, well, that'll take us 3 weeks, 6 weeks. It's going to be $10,000. And it's a problem where, technology is kind of getting in the way of business. And I think our approach has been, you can't build any piece of technology without attribution attached in this industry. Like the way that people link to each other is everything. That's how the business sells. That's how that's why they call it networking, right? And so if your tech doesn't do that, which we've taken an approach to really make that a robust piece of our technology, and we call it fair share. And so we've got a multi-algorithm that always links people to each other. So if you don't build a piece of technology with fair share in mind, then it just doesn't work for this industry. So I think the technology has gotten in the way because it's like, well, we have to plug it into the tree and we have to plug it into the compensation system. And so the piece of technology was built from those requirements up and out into the field. And what we aim to do is never let go of attribution, make that a founding principle of the technology, but then build it in a way that's easy to use and build in a way that's functional and in a way that marketing and sales professionals can get right into it and build exactly what they need to drive their business. And so I think that's the difference between, Mike thinking he can have these plugins and realizing they actually don't work for the technology to, no, you have to build it with fair share in mind and work backwards on the user experience.
Yeah, we've been so limited as a channel and as direct selling companies. And I want to take just a little bit of a step back. Can you help kind of paint the picture? What do you see as kind of the key functionality, the key features from the Fluid platform?
I would say it centers in, Brandon talked about fair share, which I think attribution has to be core to everything you do. But another big thesis that we had was e-commerce needs to be really revolutionized in direct sales. There's a lot of players like Shopify and others that are winning, but they aren't built for the industry. And in fact, they have terms of service that don't allow that. I wish from the beginning we didn't have to build e-commerce and could have pushed everyone to Shopify. But we found that wasn't the case. But there's a lot of tools and solutions and technology that are built around to help support like sales enablement or back office. But there's a limitation we found as we talk to the field and as we talk to distributors, that I can share stuff and I can, I can get a page and I can share it, but then what? And if you don't enable transactions and sharing to happen in the same flow, and to have a seamless, frictionless checkout experience, then you essentially have a block in your sales funnel. And so e-commerce became an underlying kind of principle, an underlying foundation of Fluid, so that we can enable sharing, we can enable messaging, we can enable all the business tools and all the connections without breaking that flow, and making things like doing one-click enrollments and one-click checkouts possible, so that we have the highest cart conversion rates and are able to integrate while staying true to the channel, able to integrate and have the same e-commerce experience as other leaders out there.
Yeah, pulling all these features together in one platform, in one app, really turns it in. It goes far beyond just e-commerce. It's far beyond communication. It really, as I had the chance to go through a demo, it really is kind of this digital transformation platform that allows companies and their distributors to do so many incredible things, manage the business, but just simplify all of these processes. Again, you talked about the one-click enrollment. I was blown away by that, because normally that's such a huge friction point where, when we look at site analytics, there's so much drop off on that page. People get to a certain point and then they're like, okay, I'm not going through 6 screens of all these fields to fill out. Also, from kind of the marketing and CMO perspective, when I got the demo, I was super impressed with just how simple it is. I know, Brandon, you kind of mentioned, most times, because of how our sites and systems are built, I got to put a ticket into IT and wait 2 weeks for something that, on different systems would be instant, or a few minutes, or, hey, a designer is going to throw that up really quick. And part of that is, it also allows me as a CMO not to hire a dev person or a front-end dev person on my team, to have the ability for my team just to understand, the system and how to make these updates and create these things kind of in real time and on the fly, and not need someone that understands how to code. Can you talk a little bit about why you took that approach and what it kind of ultimately means?
Yeah, I love that you brought up digital transformation and ease of use. I think that low code or no code ways to build pages is a trend you see in e-commerce. We've patterned our design after top 1%, e-commerce solutions that are there in other industries. And I think the direct sales industry is ready for modern tech solutions that are similar to what you find anywhere. That's when I met Mike, that was my initial attraction. Not only did we share a vision, like he mentioned, but we sat down, and he comes from the Silicon Slopes technology community. He's one of the best technologists in there. This was his first project, building the back office. And so when I saw his approach to UI UX, when I saw his approach to e-commerce, to other solutions and simple ease of use, I knew that we could, utilize his thinking, but also experience through, attribution, fair share, what we've already talked about, to build really beautiful solutions. So one of the things we do to answer the question is we have low code or no code tools. So a marketing professional or a sales professional can get in, they can drag and drop, they can, put some copy in there that can even be generated by AI prompted, and they can just have editing rights. And in a couple of minutes, you have what you're trying to build. You have a page builder options, you have banner options, you have pop-ups, you have chat scripts. Any of those type of tools can, in a matter of minutes, be deployed. And so that's just an idea. Not an idea, that's an example of how design first can be used to make an easier solution for some of these professionals.
Yeah, it is super intuitive. The interface is amazing. I know that, marketing team could quickly get up to speed and, in minutes and how to build and launch some of these, marketing assets. You talked about design first. Our distributors also today demand mobile first. They're managing their businesses in real time. 80% of it's now happening on their mobile device. Can you talk a little bit about kind of this mobile first? And then I'd love to hear a little bit more on kind of the AI catch-ups and some of the ways you're leveraging AI?
Yeah, mobile first we knew was key. In fact, the name of Fluid came from when I was sitting on a beach one time, and I just thought it'd be really cool if I could run my whole business from my phone, because I was opening up so many different apps and to do it. And I just thought if I could have it all in one app. And so Fluid actually came from this thought of, can we have a fluid transition from like work and life, and and being mobile enabled and mobile first solution is key for that. In order to be plugged in, get push notifications, be alerted when important things are happening. That's we've always been mobile first, and that's where the name came from, actually. And then tying to that, as you mentioned with the AI and the catch-ups, is how do we give somebody right on their phone the exact checklist of what they need to do that day, the key points to work on that's going to drive the most growth in their business. So catch-ups has been an amazing feature to come together because it allows a rep to swipe through a few cards and have, with our AI built on the back end, the ability to automatically have their next actions populated. So you have the low cognitive load of swiping through, seeing if there was an abandoned cart, if there was web activity, if there's an upcoming subscription, if a contact has gone stale and hasn't been updated lately. All those triggers and actions can be surfaced up, and not just said like given the data, but then tied to an action as well. So right on the bottom of the card, a pre-populated text message powered by AI, or a pre-populated to-do list, again, all powered by AI. And the AI having all the context of the company's products, the timeline of the individual, and just everything they need in order to click one button, finish the task, move on to the next card, and then have a feeling at the end of a couple of minutes that they have completed their day and they've done the work that they need to do. So they don't have this feeling of, have I done enough in my business today? Have I grown? Have I taken the necessary steps? And then being able to continue from there with suggestions of how to better build your website, or your my site as we call them, how to create a better profile, uploading testimonial videos or other items where they can improve and get better. Once you've completed the necessary tasks, it'll give you the suggestions on the next one. Again, really reducing the cognitive load and the thinking and the doubts from new reps and existing reps on, are they doing enough to grow and see success in their business?
Yeah, that has been a big barrier and kind of speed bump for so many companies, is how do we get our distributors to get their first check? How do we get them moving? How do we keep them in momentum, always in action? And from the distributor side, they're overwhelmed. And if they're new, they don't always know what they're supposed to do. So I was really impressed with how that helps kind of guide them and hold their hand kind of daily through the journey. I think it's a really, really important tool. I want to hear more selfishly about the sales and marketing side and some of the capabilities there. We now have permission from the field essentially to be more involved with customers and distributors and helping increase the LTV of people on their team, and to reach out and market and communicate, to all these different audiences that we have. Can you share a little bit more about kind of capabilities from a sales and marketing standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. Another core business pillar is our messaging center. So inside of our messaging center, we have channels like Slack where you can go, create specific groups. I can message my downline. I can also send text and SMS all right from the app, so I can keep all my conversations stored. So one of the and then I can also work with the company to create campaigns and other follow-ups, so that I have the most tools, as communication is one of the core sales features needed in order to do it. And leaders like Ryan at Neumi really get in there. I remember him announcing at one point that if you ever want to talk to me, I will be in the app and you can message me at any time. And those are the kind of communications that reps are looking for from the sales leaders, from corporate, from, you know, their existing team leaders. And instead of being spread out across a lot of different WhatsApp groups and trying to manage, you know, all different places, Messaging Center gives you your sales tools in a box and from a comms perspective, and, you know, not just internal but external as well.
Yeah, I was also really impressed with the analytics from a marketing standpoint that a marketing team could leverage. Obviously, today we live and die by analytics and understanding where are the actions and transactions that are taking place and how can we influence them, increase them, you know, heat up the volume. And it's really cool that even as part of, you know, launching those assets, having the ability to quickly understand which assets are highest converting, which ones have the most engagement, because also not just from a conversion and sales standpoint, but even from kind of a support and marketing asset development standpoint, that's going to help inform the next video I create, the next asset. When I know what's working and what's not, I don't need to guess or waste time and money. So I think that was really impressive as well on how people can really leverage the analytics. Another thing that I love too is that it plays well with others. And what I mean is that it's not completely, you know, siloed and walled off, that you have the ability, whether it's payments and other things, to plug in nicely and easily into Fluid. Can you share why you took that approach and left it a little more open than maybe other platforms or systems would?
Could I jump in and just, like, before we move to
Of course.
the plugins,
Yeah, do it.
we'll let Mike jump that. But I love what you said about data, because data is a core component here, and it drives a lot of value for anybody looking for a solution for digital transformation. Not only can you easily create beautiful websites and landing pages, you have a mobile app so people can check in. You have AI-powered tasks or call to actions. So everything's happening on the mobile. But from a data side, since we have fair share and attribution technology, and we have a cart, and we have those sharing happening, you know, between those two functions, it creates a new category of data and analytics. So we have real-time sales analytics that you can utilize on the e-commerce side of things, how many web views, how people are interacting. There's notifications that come. And this not only comes to the corporate side of things in aggregate, it also is applicable to every single distributor there is. So when there's a chat script, it goes to them and not to corporate CS, and they can interact with their recruit. The web analytics on the assets that they share are attributed to them, and they can see what's working and what's not. And that also aggregates, so a marketing professional can see almost in an A/B testing environment, which of the messaging models, you know, of all our reps are working best, which ones convert to sales because we have the cart attached to it, and which ones are the best sharers in terms of marketing assets that are getting eyeballs on it. They're creating some action, and that action is flowing down the funnel into a sales or an enrollment action. And I love the intersections of all those data that we have available. So we can make all that data easily available via, you know, an executive dashboard, and give people the views that they want. And so a marketing professional, like you said, gets insights that really have never been available before in this industry because of the cross section of everything that we provide as a solution. So that I just want to jump in there on data real quick. But I love the ease of use and integration on the backside too. So Mike, you could talk about that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Wayne. And so we knew that the platform needed to be extendable, so that it wasn't contained as a, you know, as a tool. One, we needed to connect with all back offices and provide that, because that was obviously a key component. But on top of that, we didn't want the tools to just live, you know, on maybe a Fluid web page, but how do we give the functionality to exist? Because a lot of companies have a science site, or they'll have a blog, they have their corporate website, they might have existing replicated websites. You know, usually there's quite a few domains, And so we extended all the marketing functionalities for this MarTech on a simple JavaScript widget. It takes just 1 second for an existing developer team to install it on a website. But then it gives you the power to extend messaging, pop-ups, carts, everything like that onto any existing site. So in this no-code, low-code environment, admins can jump in, create a pop-up, say a 15% off your first-time site visitor pop-up. And that pop-up would still give all the fair share and attribution back to whoever originated the share. So even on an external corporate website, all that data would flow back, and you can target specific pages and build assets that deploy all just once you get a simple JavaScript widget installed, so that it doesn't, you're not contained to where these marketing tools live.
Yeah, the modularity and simplicity of that, and just openness is great, not just from a functionality, but from a philosophy. Again, obviously, I know you guys come from, the digital marketing, e-commerce, Silicon Slopes world, and that's what's driving it. And so I think that's really incredible. What about from kind of an integration standpoint? So if a company wants to learn more, and questions on timing, integration, ongoing support, can you share a little more on that as well?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do is to sit down and workshop with us, or to see a demo, so you can see the ability and the robustness of the technology. I think what we're finding with all of our clients is that they really want modularity because of the disparate systems and the way they've engineered things to just provide easy solutions. So clients can pick and choose which features they want, and be able to provide solutions immediately in their business. But integration is easy. We're already have integrations with all the major back offices. So that part is an easy process. We do deployments in days in certain scenarios and not multiple months. And it really would be like sitting down to design what it is that you're trying to control, or what solutions you're trying to provide. And then we use our tech. One of the unique things we haven't mentioned about the tech is it's one code base. So rather than building an iteration and like doing all this custom development for each client, we're deployed as a SaaS solution for these clients. So as they can use the pieces that work best in their environment. And so I think integration is something that's just simple to go through as a process, and you can immediately start diving into the more exciting, from like a marketing professional aspect of the pages and the presentation, the messaging, all of the other tools like that.
As Brandon mentioned, the integration time is relatively quick to get up and get going. But on top of that, one thing we focused on in a digital transformation platform was it's not just about getting IT on board and making sure that IT has data syncing, but we do a lot of work, and we had a lot of fun working with Ryan and the Neumi team, building these really beautiful top 1% of e-commerce psychology landing pages and product pages. And so while all that is available in no code, low code environment, we also do have a white glove team here that are experts in marketing in the industry, who have time here, who are also happy to sit down. And we really have a lot of fun developing some solutions catered to the company and catered to this digital transformation and making things look really great. So those are part of our onboarding that we really like to do.
Yeah, that level of customization, and just again, the simplicity was really impressive. It's not a one size fits all. You could drag or drop, turn things on and off, whatever tools a company wants, they have the ability to have or not have, and even kind of slowly introduce tools. So you're not completely overwhelming the field and the distributors at one time, but as they get more proficient, turning on more and more features, I think is incredible. Mike and Brandon, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your thoughts and insights, helping us learn more about Fluid. It really is an incredible digital transformation platform that I know companies are going to use to really kind of leapfrog ahead and really be in line with so many other digital marketing D2C companies and channels. And I'm so impressed how you both, again, and Brandon, I know you've got a long history in direct selling, but understand the needs on the corporate side, understand the needs from a distributor, from the field side, and have brought those two sides of the house together in an incredible platform. And I want to circle back with Ryan. And just again, Ryan, thank you so much for being here, for sharing the Neumi story, and for your experiences with technology, with digital, and with Fluid. And I'd love to get any kind of final thoughts after listening to Mike and Brandon. Any final thoughts from the company perspective? If anyone is looking to, add and needs digital transformation, needs e-commerce, needs communication, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, Fluid has been a dream come true as far as partners go. We love working with them. My advice would be, no matter what size company you are, just go to fluid.app and sign up for a demo.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Wayne, and thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks to everybody. Wayne, thanks for having us on here. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and to get your ideas and insights. You're really pushing the industry forward through this podcast and in all the things you do. So really fun to spend time with you.
Thanks. Pleasure's ours. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a moment to subscribe and give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid insights and interviews for direct selling corporate executives. And don't forget to register for the fall DSU at dsnevents.com. Secure your spot now. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.